Hello everyone, my name is Catalyst, welcome back to the channel, I hope you all are doing well. If you are a Battlefield fan, then I can imagine you're doing quite well, as today we received our first look at Battlefield 2042, which is supposedly DICE's biggest Battlefield game yet, and a long love letter to longtime Battlefield fans. It does appear at face value to be the biggest scale DICE has ever attempted, which we may have differing opinions on how good that actually is for the gameplay of the franchise, but regardless of that, I'm sure you have watched many videos today detailing what we will be seeing in the coming months as the game is slowly revealed to us over time. So today I'm going to sift through all the small details and leave you with some of the big points as to what you should take away from the trailer as we anxiously await gameplay. So without any further ado, here is the 6 biggest takeaways from the Battlefield 2042 reveal trailer. At number 6, let's start off with the big elephant in the room, and that is the elephant-sized maps and ginormous scale that Battlefield 2042 appears to be taking on. There will be 7 maps at launch for Battlefield 2042, and the maps will accommodate 128 players in an all-out war game mode that supposedly will feature Breakthrough and Conquest. The PlayStation 4 and Xbox One versions of the game will only accommodate 64 players, which will definitely incentivize some players to upgrade to the next-gen versions when available. I'm approaching this with some careful optimism because while I think that more players is technologically very impressive, 128 players makes me worried more than anything else, and it's not just for the sake of being negative. It's just impossible to know how this will play until we get our hands on it during closed alpha or open beta. Bigger is not always better, and I do have some reservations on not only how the servers will perform, how high the tick rate is for the servers, but I also wonder how it will feel when 128 players fill the map. The pace could end up being fine, or it could feel like utter and total chaos, which personally I don't find to be very skillful, and it can be overbearing and annoying if done improperly, and you as a player don't have a moment to breathe. I just wonder if DICE were focused on whether or not they could do this as opposed to if they should. Again, this is not to be purposely negative. If this works, then hats off to DICE, you've done it again, but this is something we will have to wait and see. Next, let's talk about the class system in Battlefield 2042, or the lack thereof. 2042 will forgo the traditional class system and instead introduce heroes, which is Battlefield's spin on the specialist system found across multiple popular FPS games like Rainbow Six and Call of Duty. We saw a couple of examples throughout this trailer. There is obviously the wingsuit specialist that was featured quite a bit, the dog bot, a grappling hook, a sentry gun, and there will be more specialists coming in a free live service season pass. It'll be interesting to see how these heroes work and how DICE balances them. For the first time in series history, there will also be no class restricted weapons, meaning that every weapon can be playable on each individual hero. And while we've seen flashes of this in past titles like Battlefield 4, where some weapons crossed over between multiple classes, this is the first time that every weapon is universally available. Personally, I love this change and welcome it with open arms as a quality evolution of Battlefield's gameplay. One of my big issues with Battlefield 5 was that it too harshly delegated players to certain playstyles based on the classes they were playing, and very few weapons offered dynamic playstyles. With no defined classes and locked weapons, 2042 has the potential to solve a lot of legacy balancing issues when it comes to the class system and which weapons go to which class. Moving on to number 4, Battlefield 2042 seems to be a return to being heavily vehicle-focused, which as an infantry player does not bode well for me, but I think with the size of the maps as we have already discussed, vehicles may take on a bit of a different role and play a tad differently, or at least have other things to do except farm me in a Little Bird for an entire Dawnbreaker match. Listen, PTSD is real. But all joking aside, vehicles in Battlefield 5 felt very sporadic and volatile. Either you never noticed that they were there, or you got killed by vehicles instantly without warning and sent back to the respawn screen. The big question will be whether or not attrition is removed from the game, which will hopefully remove some of the campiness to tanks and blandness overall of vehicle play and vehicle to infantry counterplay. At number 3, we have the ability to switch weapon attachments on the fly mid-game, and while this seems like such a small thing, I'm actually going to reach deeper into the cookie jar because it actually might be pointing to something bigger, and that is the return of a more robust and realized progression system. One of the more common complaints in Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 5 was that progressing through the game was not rewarding nor engaging. In Battlefield 1, your progression grind was relegated to ranking up to get a rank 10 weapon, in which oftentimes it was not rewarding, which you you could do in a lengthy game session if you were playing well enough and earning enough points. There was not enough food on that progression plate, so to speak. In Battlefield 5, the grind was extended exponentially, but it didn't really have any substance to it, allowing you to unlock all the attachments right away as soon as you unlock the weapon, and instead focused on unlocking specializations instead, which truthfully wasn't much fun either. Don't even get me started on the gold skin assignments and weapon challenges. I can only hope that with the return of multiple weapon attachments and the ability to switch them on the fly means that Battlefield is returning to a much deeper and rewarding progression system like in Battlefield 3, 4, and Hardline. And hopefully this time, we don't need to leave our lobby to change assignments. With number 2, we have the takeaway that there is going to be no single player and no Battle Royale at launch. I've got to admit, I'm a little bit torn on this one personally. While I think that the game doesn't necessarily need a Battle Royale to be successful, and I would much rather have them focus on the core multiplayer experience, I also can't help but feel like DICE are kind of missing out on an opportunity here at launch. Adding a free-to-play Battle Royale mode would absolutely send this game over the top in terms of hype, and would capitalize on a Warzone experience that is continuously getting worse due to bad weapon balancing, bad anti-cheat, and casual churn. Especially with DICE flexing their new 128-player game modes and unprecedented scale of the game, it makes me wonder even more why, with all the extra help they have enlisted from other studios on this project and how big they are advertising this game to be, that they aren't having a Battle Royale mode at launch. As for the single player, I can't say I'm surprised there is no single player, but I'm certainly not disappointed. My context for having single player was always to facilitate and fuel DICE's creativity in creating deep, enriching, and creative maps, being able to pull locations from the story to really let their creativity shine, as opposed to the historical games where oftentimes they seem bottlenecked by historical accuracy. And finally, my biggest takeaway from the reveal trailer was really the tone and identity that the game seems to have. Now, I do want to stress, before you go and pre-order your copy of the game, think about what this trailer was and what it's meant to do. It's meant to excite you. It's meant to play on your nostalgia and make you think Battlefield is back. This game's going to be great. From a marketing standpoint, that's exactly what they needed to do to sell copies of the game. This trailer felt very much to me like a Battlefield Moments Greatest Hits edition. Really a play on the nostalgia of longtime fans. But with that being said, I am happy with what I saw for the sole reason that this game has an identity. The thing that stuck out to me the most with the trailer was a clear and present tone, and even more importantly, a direction. And while that doesn't promise that the game will play well, you cannot argue that Battlefield 5 suffered from having no solidified tone or direction. It was thematically all over the place. Even if this game is very clearly an evolution of the franchise cemented in the nostalgia of a Battlefield sandbox experience, at least the game knows what it is. It's an open love letter to the player base to try and win us back, and I'm okay with it as long as it delivers. And I'm hopeful that the gameplay that we will see on June 13th is well developed and realized. I'm not going to overreact until I see the gameplay, but as a start, this was a pretty damn good trailer, and I really enjoyed the tone, direction, and identity that the game has going for it. Those are the 6 biggest takeaways from the Battlefield 2042 reveal trailer. What did you think of the trailer? Leave a comment down below. If you are just finding this channel now, welcome. If you enjoyed, please leave a like. It helps me tremendously, and consider subscribing. I will be posting a bunch of Battlefield 2042 and Battlefield 5 content moving forward, so stick with me for that. And streams will also be returning on Twitch shortly. You can follow me there if you wish. Thanks for watching, everybody. My name is Nick or Catalyst, and I will see you all another time.